Hello, this is Lynn from My Chanel Story, and I am so excited that you're joining me today for this video. I am coming to you from the Midwest, USA, and you know what? I am not an expert. I'm a huge fan of vintage and specifically vintage Chanel, and I just found that there was really a void on YouTube. I am such an information seeker. Can any of you relate? I am such an information seeker. And as my love for the Chanel brand was growing, and then specifically in the vintage space of Chanel, not only vintage, but just some of the older, 10 years old, 15 years old, and definitely the 80s and 90s Chanel, I just felt like there really wasn't a lot of information out there on YouTube. So I thought, hey, I know I'm no expert, but I'm a huge fan. And I would love to share with you what I've learned kind of along the way and share with you some of my favorite pieces. You can see today I'm wearing one of my favorite earrings, and it is this. I'll show you guys kind of close up here. It's one of my favorites from the 90s. Isn't it awesome? So it has kind of a pearl-esque sort of top. This heart is made of wood. It's black with the gold CCs, and on the back you can see it's a clip, and then inside there is the stamp that you typically see on a lot of the pieces, and this is from Chanel Collection 28. My older eyes sometimes fail me. And then I need a magnifying glass. Actually, one of these really comes in handy, which is just a loop, like a jeweler's loop. You can find them very inexpensively on Amazon. And then I can look closer here, and sure enough, there's the stamp, and it's the Collection 28. And the 2 is on one side of the CC logo, and then 8 is on the other. So that's there. And you see it in all different places on the jewelry. We'll be talking more about jewelry in some of the future videos. But today I want to specifically talk to you about these 3 bags. So you have the Business Affinity Tote, which I absolutely love. This thing has been used so much, and I travel a lot. I travel a lot with my work, and it's just been incredible. I've been able to put my iPad in there, and I have a pretty big one. I have that large one. I think it's 12 inches, my iPad. And that fits in there great. The vintage Chanel Jumbo. This one, the date stamp is showing it to be from about 1994 to 1996. And then this is my very, very first Chanel bag I ever bought. Went into the boutique in Chicago, and this is the medium classic double flap. And so I'll be talking about that and just kind of sharing some of the differences. So it isn't about, what's better or what's bad or what's bad or what's good. It's just different. And some of you may be a little bit newer to the brand and you're just curious. And I love having a little bit of everything. I love the newer pieces and having a few of the newer pieces, but my heart really beats for the vintage Chanel. So this is really what I want to focus on today, which is the Jumbo. And you can see here, it's so, so beautiful. And it's just buttery, rich gold. And really heavy. I mean, one thing I will say about some of the older pieces is that they're definitely not made the same. So again, it's not about good or bad, it's just different. And then this is a much thicker, heavier, you can just hear it even. It's just a heavier gold. And then also what you see in some of the older pieces is that because it's actually like layered in actual gold, I've even have read somewhere that it is plated in 24 karat gold, and that's why you see kind of that richer gold. So with this one, this is the gold hardware, and you can see the difference. So the Jumbo just has a richer, buttery gold, even though this medium classic flap is still considered gold hardware. And then the Business Affinity hardware is what they call light gold or champagne. So you can see kind of the difference here between the modern gold hardware and the light gold hardware. Now, what's really nice about the light gold hardware is that it can kind of go with both. Like if you have more silver jewelry, then this can be really, really nice. If you even look at the caviar, if you want to call it that, on this Business Affinity, the Business Affinity is more matte, I would say. It's a little bit more matte in the shine or the sheen to it, where the regular caviar, the medium classic flat, is just a little bit shinier. And one of the things that I do in some of these larger bags so that they hold their shape when I'm not using them as much is I'll put some bubble wrap in there. Because again, you just want to make sure that your bags really hold their shape. So this one I really love. It's been really great. It's been all over the world with me. There's a few scratches on the bottom, but overall it's really good. But the chain, it's super sturdy. Like I've had this really, really heavy, you guys, and it's in great shape. Like it's not looking like it's pulling away or anything. But this strap, you can just kind of hear it versus this one, which is just really, really substantial. Okay, I'm gonna put this one behind me because I just really want to focus on this vintage jumbo. Put this over here. All right, so I want to talk a little bit about this. It's a little bit boxier, so you can see here. I'll just go all the way around. This one in particular is pretty rare. You see a fair amount of the vintage jumbos that are lambskin. I really, really love the caviar, although I think I definitely want the lambskin in my life too. This came from Boutique Patina. She has beautifully curated bags. I mean, this one, for as old as it is, being from, you know, anywhere between 1994 and 1996, that's pretty old bag because we're in 2020 right now, and it just nearly looks absolutely perfect. So again, you can tell that the handle is just really substantial. I'll show you some different ways that you can wear this. So you can just put it right over your shoulder like this. Double strap. The strap is super, super long. And then you open this up. Just pull this strap so I can bring it all the way out. Once you give yourself all of the chain, you can see it's like super, super long. If I put it over my shoulder this way, it's like all the way down almost to my knee. And if I put it over my shoulder this way, it's perfect. But this one really, really will turn heads. It's just such a beautiful buttery gold, like I said, shiny leather, shiny caviar leather, and it fits so much. So like with this one, with the medium classic flap, and it's a double flap, which they all are now. And so that double flap takes up some space. So I'll kind of talk about that next. But I don't know if any of you guys have ever tried to put this one crossbody. I'm 5'5", that does not work. No, that does not work. So if you're a crossbody person, the medium flap, you'd want to go more with a mini or something like this with the jumbo. So beautiful. So that's kind of how it lands on you. All right, so now just to kind of show you the space. This thing is massive. And like I said, it really turns heads wherever I go. You don't see this very often. And I love how the CC logo is just massive on that versus the medium classic flap that you can see there. The CC is really pretty on there, but this is just so big. It's so bold. You love Chanel. You want to have it bright and shiny and big. All right, so let me show you everything that can go in here. So in this bag, which by the way, look at the inside here. You can see what that looks like there for those of you that kind of want to know what to look like, what authenticity looks like. Again, I'm not the authenticity expert. Actually, let me stop a minute and just tell you about that. So in my researching, I found that there's just some really great sites to help you in knowing if your bag is authentic or what to look for. So I found a website, and I will link it in the description box, but it's called Yoogie's Closet. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right, but YOOGISCLOSET, Yoogie's Closet. .com, and they have a Chanel authentication guide with serial codes, which is really, really helpful because the sticker that's inside the bag the Chanel logo and the hologram design vary by the date of the bag. So whenever I'm looking at something, I always want to make sure that that sticker is there. But again, you really want to study that, because sometimes those people that make the fakes will try and mimic the sticker, but it is hard to mimic the actual authentic sticker for that year, and they all vary a little bit. So you definitely want to take a look at that. And I actually have that saved in my phone. So I've just created in the notes section my Chanel, and whenever I find a really great link like that, I just save it in the notes on my phone, and I have that particular note saved to the top of my favorites, so I can go straight to it. So if I'm ever wanting, like, oh, where's that website again where I can find the authenticity, I can just find it right there in the notes section of my phone, and that's really, really helpful. So the authenticity sticker, because you know, a lot of times the cards are missing obviously through the years, but the sticker definitely helps. However, if a bag is missing the sticker inside, it doesn't mean it's not authentic. It could have gotten rubbed off. So those are just some things to learn, but you can read about that on Yogi's Closet, Chanel authentication, kind of hard word to say, Chanel authentication guide and serial codes. And for this one from 1994 to 1996, it's a 7-digit code, and it was beginning with the number 3. So that's how I knew the year for this one. Okay, so let's talk about what can fit in here. This bag is massive inside. I mean, if you take a look at this, it doesn't have the double flap, so there's so much space inside, so much space inside. So, I mean, I have one of the large size wallets, and I mean this wallet, this is so crazy. This wallet will even fit up and down in here. So you can see it can even go in this way. I can put in sunglasses, mints, lipstick. I mean, I would have room for way more in here versus the medium flap, which again is beautiful. It's such a classic, but there's not a lot of space in here. So again, with that double flap, there's not a lot of space. So you can see the difference. So if I take out this large wallet, I definitely can't put it up and down like I did in the other. So there it is, up and down. Yeah, that won't close. But if I put it in the long way, you can see right here, it takes up almost the entire bag. So I could maybe fit in a lipstick, kind of up and down. Here's some mints. If I want to put in my Apple earbuds, and you can see it even kind of pulls it out a little bit. So you can see it's kind of bent out. I can still turn it, but that's about all that was going to fit in there, at least fit in there comfortably, versus the jumbo that is just absolutely huge. And again, I just want to draw to your attention the difference in the chains. Let me get up close here. And you can see the difference in the chain. So it's real thick leather through the jumbo versus the thinner leather of the medium classic flap. And then the Business Affinity is even lighter weight than these two. But I just cannot say, if you are a vintage collector, a vintage Chanel collector, there is nothing, in my opinion, quite like a vintage jumbo. I mean, I think you definitely will want to have this bag, make it into your collection. And it was pretty popular even back then. It's one that you see from time to time on the different pre-loved sites that you can find. But, you know, hold out for one that's a really nice, decent shape, because it is something that I think you will love and cherish for a very, very long time. And, you know, don't be afraid of the lambskin in the older bags, because even the lambskin from back in the 90s is thicker and more durable. And if any of you guys have any experience with that, definitely comment below so that everybody else can kind of learn from your experience. But this is just going to be so special. And I really think for these vintage jumbos, they're just going to become more and more popular with time and harder to find. So definitely look for one now. You can see this massive pocket on the back. I have a large iPhone, and that definitely fits back here if you wanted to put something back here in this pocket. So I wanted to share with you, so since this is plated in the 24 karat gold, they used to have a stamp. So that's how, one of the ways that you can tell in an older bag. And if you look really close at the CCs there, you can see that there's a little stamp on the CC. showing that it has been stamped from the person that worked that the gold on there. And kind of an example is, you know, I have a fair amount of Chanel bags, so it's not like I use the same bag over and over again. Although I would say I probably use this medium flap almost every single day for a solid 9 months. But I'm not super hard on my bags, and I don't know if you can see this, but the turn lock, the kind of the tip of the turn lock has started to turn silver. It's like lost some of the gold. So I know I need to take this back to a Chanel store. I live in a state where we don't even have a Chanel store, so I haven't done that yet. I've heard that I can have that replaced. So I think that really is one of the reasons why there's been some conversation about just the quality of the bags today versus the older bags that have such thick gold. I mean, I just can't even imagine, even if I use this every single day and threw it around, I can't imagine that the gold would come off of this one. So what you're investing in your vintage pieces, plus, you know, you're probably going to be hearing me talk a lot about this, but the Chanel of today is different because it's, you know, Karl Lagerfeld is no longer with Chanel, and he's no longer with us. He passed away in 2019. So I just am so passionate at collecting his pieces. He was just such a genius, and he started with Chanel around 1983, and he died in 1999. And so, you know, anything that you purchase in between that time period that, you know, he was a part of creating is really special. And especially in that kind of late 80s, early 90s, which is just such a special era of Chanel, I believe. And like I said, this one will always be special. It was my first experience in, you know, on Michigan Avenue, but it is disappointing. You know, the leather is great quality. I mean, even though, you know, it's been used like crazy, look at the corners. I mean, you can see the corners are perfect. They're not even worn. So, you know, it's made really well. It's just that the gold was kind of starting to come off the tip there. So I'm excited to share more about vintage Chanel and all things vintage Chanel. So if you're interested in that, definitely subscribe to my channel and definitely click on the bell so that you're notified when I have a new video. Please comment below if you have anything to share about vintage jumbo, your love of vintage jumbo, or even if you have the business affinity or the medium classic double flap, if you have anything to share just about comparing and contrasting, because that's really what this channel is all about, is we really want to just help people to learn and understand more and to be able to identify a really special piece. So thank you for joining, everyone.